Clemson Dubcast, Friday, July 8th. Big day for Clemson in the recruiting realm. Peter Woods of Alabama. Well, let's just say Paul Streelow's italics this morning give us a pretty good indication that this recruiting run the Tigers are on is only continuing. And our man Paul has been all over it all summer long in giving subscribers at TigerIllustrated.com advance word, intel, and insight that they can't get anywhere else in the Clemson recruiting sphere. So never a better time than now to subscribe to TigerIllustrated.com. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. Okay, to our interview with one of the most remarkable stories in the Clemson world that you're going to find. Bryson Carter has been to 205 straight Clemson football games, and he's done so without being able to see. In recent years, he has spoken to the Clemson football team at Dabo Swinney's request. He's also spoken to the Clemson marching band. And now he's sitting down with us for the second time in the last 3 years. Here we go. Enjoy. All right, joined by my friend Bryson Carter. It is great to see you in person, Bryson, and be with you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's good to connect with you again, and looking forward to talking sports, specifically college football, Clemson football, and that's what I love. So looking forward to it.
This is crazy. We'll get into sharing more on your refreshing, sort of more on your story in a minute. But I guess a week and a half ago, I was at the Brooks Center Tuesday night concert series watching the Clemson faculty jazz band. And you and your girlfriend, right?
Yes, that's
right. Yeah. We're sitting like 2 feet. Tara, we're sitting at like 2 feet away from me. I didn't know it, and then after y'all had left, I'm talking to Mark Speed, the director, marching band director, who you obviously know, and he said, "Hey, do you know Bryson Carter?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I do." And he said, "Oh, well, did you get to talk to him?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He was sitting right behind you, right there." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was so zoned out by the music, I guess, that I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings, unfortunately." So I apologize that I didn't get a chance to visit with you then.
No apology necessary. And Dr. Speed is wonderful. He's befriended me, and he'd asked me to come speak to the band. And then the pandemic hit, and he had asked if I would do it over Zoom, and I wanted to do it in person. So last fall, went and spoke to the band, and just really so I could thank them, because they make it so much easier for me to follow along the football games, especially at the home games, not being able to see very much these days. So I just really wanted to thank them, and one of the biggest parts of college football and something that separates it from the NFL so much is a band, cheerleaders, mascots, and some of that pageantry that you do not get in the NFL. And so just awesome opportunity to go listen to band practice. I believe after we lost in double overtime NC State in Raleigh last year. So I know Dr. Speed loves playing the drums, as do you.
Yeah.
And I know you have a gig upcoming for the folks that are in the area. And Tara and I are looking forward to hearing you play the drums coming up July 13th, I believe, for your cover band, if you would.
The Grateful Brothers.
Grateful Brothers, Allman Brothers, and Grateful Dead covers, correct?
Yes, it's Wednesday, July 13th, and
6 p.m., correct?
6 p.m. Yeah,
and I've already put in my request for Little Martha.
Okay, so are you coming?
Yes.
You're definitely coming.
Yeah, I mean, unless something unforeseen were to happen, yes.
Okay, all right. And so you're an Allman Brothers fan, right?
Yes. More.
Okay.
I mean, not really Grateful Dead so much. My middle brother, he loves the jam bands, and especially like Widespread Panic. And he was actually out in Red Rocks recently for a concert, and I know you said that you would watch that online, I believe.
I watched one of the 3 shows, the Saturday show from home. Went to Red Rocks to see them in 2015 with several other friends for my 40th birthday, and it was it's a mecca of a music venue for sure.
And I believe on the podcast you told a story about how either you or one of the people that were with you had left your tickets in the hotel, I believe.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think my good friend Norm Wood is going to be listening to this. I'm glad he's not, but. He left his tickets back at our rental house 2 of the 3 nights.
Oh my goodness!
That we went, and one night he had to buy another ticket, I believe, and then the third night and the second time he left his ticket, he had to drive back to the house, and he missed like half of the first set. So we still haven't stopped giving him grief, as you heard on the podcast. I guess that I did with him. I had to unload again on him just to give him some good grief.
So I'm not into the Grateful Dead as much as my brother is, but some of their songs I do like, and love the Allman Brothers. So looking forward to hearing you play along with the rest of your group.
Yeah, and luckily in that band there's a second drummer, so if I mess up, it doesn't you don't hear it as much. There's good backup, so to speak. So with how far does your relationship with Mark Speed go back?
I apologize if I don't remember the origin of it, but as you know, and for the home games, I'm on the hill against the railing and right next to the section where the band is. Mm-hmm. And so at some point over the past few years, he just came in and spoke to me. I was there for every home game and cheering along with the band. So he was probably thinking, who is this crazy guy that's dancing and clapping and making a lot of noise? So he struck up conversation and friendship from there over the years.
So you came on the podcast last April of 2019.
That's correct.
That was I guess just a few months after 44-16 in
Alabama beatdown.
Yeah, Northern California, and at that time we shared your story, of course, but just a bit of a refresh. When you were in high school, you started experiencing deteriorating vision, and then in college it got so bad that you just basically couldn't function and had to drop out. Am I getting the nuts and bolts right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. So I had corrected 20/20 vision with eyeglasses until I was around age 15, 16, somewhere in that neighborhood. I was diagnosed with a retina disorder, retinitis pigmentosa. So from there, gradually over time, would lose most of my eyesight, and I would say that it has been stable since around 2011, where I have light perception. So I can tell you are sitting there, but really I see a kind of an outline or a silhouette of you sitting there, so not a whole lot of detail. And so that's kind of where it stands, and thankful it's been stable since that point. So, and thankful I didn't lose it all at once. Some people do, obviously, and thankful that I had quote unquote normal eyesight for a good portion of my life, which gave me a great benefit and advantage over some of my friends who are blind since birth, for example. So, and really helps, even though I can't see that much these days. I know what things look like, should look like, and it helps me have an image in my mind of what things do look like. So, thankful for that.
And is it normal for it to be stable as it has for the last, I guess, 11 years?
That I do not know. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it could progress in the future and I could lose the light perception and the eyesight that I do have left. I'm not sure on that. And I'm not sure that the doctors could tell me either.
You said light perception?
Yes.
Okay, so like during the middle of the day, you can see how much light can you see? Well,
I mean, you'd probably be able to tell, if it's light or dark, cloudy kind of type deal. So, I don't just see total darkness, for example. Mm-hmm. Some people do.
Mm-hmm. And another thing we talked about back in April of 19 was, at that time, your streak of Clemson football games, which started in 2007, was it 165 games? Now it's 200 plus, right?
Yes, sir. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's just amazing because I'm thinking about all the places that you had to go to, particularly during the playoff trips. So, are you taking Greyhound buses?
So, at times I have. Mm-hmm. Both trips to Phoenix were Greyhound. So, sometimes Amtrak, sometimes flights, sometimes rides with other people. So, planes, trains, automobiles. However, whatever it takes, however. Obviously not being able to drive is kind of a hindrance, but I've been so blessed that so many people have helped me, especially friends and people I met, strangers that have become friends. I could have stories for the rest of the day to tell you about strangers that I met and have befriended me over the years and really close with these days, that strangers, Clemson fans that I became friends with and subsequently went to lots of games with, especially some of the away games. So I've been very blessed that things have worked out the way they have.
You said you could talk all day about some of these relationships. Top of your head. Let's hear some about some of the most profound, I guess, stories and the relationships that came from them.
So I was living and working in Goose Creek, outside of Charleston, and in 2007, and really for the first time traveled by myself to an away game to Maryland. I took Amtrak, and we won. And after the game, I'd been got in a room in the Holiday Inn in College Park. They had a shuttle, like a 12 or 15 passenger van to take the people that were staying there over to the game, something that they offered. And they said, okay, we're going to let you out here, and after the game, we need you to meet back up here, and we'll take you back to the hotel. So went to the game. We beat Maryland. And then after the game, I'm trying to get back to the spot where we're supposed to meet up to get the shuttle back to the hotel. And I was off track a little bit. So this couple of guys came up to me, and they said, were you on the shuttle? I was like, yeah. He said, well, it's over here. Come with us, And granted, my eyesight was a lot better then than it is now. But, I don't know if that was brave or stupid to go by myself, but I wanted to go, and I didn't really know anybody else that was going that I could ride with or go with. So my mom really helped me try and think of, any possible outcome. Like, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in this situation? Well, getting lost from the shuttle was not something that we had thought of, I guess. And but these two Clemson fans, strangers, came up to me, and they said, over here. So I went with them, get back to the hotel, and go in the restaurant looking for a TV to watch Tennessee, South Carolina that night. They were playing in Knoxville and on TV. And same people came up to me, so I was a little lost trying to maneuver around all the tables, trying to get to the bar to find a TV to watch the game. And they said, come sit with us. So, that's John and Kyle Walter, and been friends with them, Kyle, ever since. And his dad, John, they've done so much to help me, and it's been 15 years almost. So it'll be 15 years this fall since I met them on just random. And I know Kyle would say it was not random. It was divine intervention, or it was meant to be. It was. I know that's what he would say. So whatever your beliefs, but so that was definitely one example. And Kyle and I have gotten to games all over the country together. So second example would be my friend Scott Green, IPTE rep, lives in Greer. I was living in Charlotte in 2008, and my dad took me to the airport, going to Boston College, never been up there before, and just waiting to get on a flight, and this guy comes up to me and sees my Clemson garb, I guess, and says, where are you headed? I said, I was going to Boston. He said, well, he said he was too. He said, how are you getting to the stadium? Because, it's it's not like it's near downtown or near airport. I mean, it's kind of out by itself, Chestnut Hill. So he said, well, when you get there at the Logan Airport, how are you getting to Chestnut Hill, to the stadium? I said, I don't know. He said, well, do you have a ticket to the game? I said, not yet, but I don't think that'd be an issue, at Boston College. So he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, my nephew was supposed to go to the game with me, but he had to cancel last minute. So he said, I have a ticket. He said, you can sit with me.
Wow.
And he said, I got a rental car lined up. So he said, here's my phone number. We looked at the flights, and, it was, I don't know, like 10 or 15 minutes difference between the flights landing. We weren't on the same flight. So he said, here's my phone number. He said, when you land, call me, and I'll come get you. And we went to the game, and then been friends ever since. And and then the third one definitely would say my friend Peter. I was in Boston at a Clemson Club event, and they having a get together at one of the bars. And I was just sitting there by myself, and this guy sitting next to me, and at that time I was using a folding cane, which now I do not, a straight cane, but I had my cane folded up on the bar, and he said, what is that? And so I unfolded it and showed him, and I was explaining to him, and I couldn't really see and needed help, cane to help me get around. And he said, I think I know you. He said, I think I remember you. So he started talking, and he said, yeah. He said, a few years ago you were at a game in Atlanta at Georgia Tech, and he said, I tried to help you get down the stairs, get out of the stadium, and you said your friend that was sitting in the other section was coming to get you. And so we've been friends ever since with Peter, and they live in Mount Pleasant, but when they come up for home games, it's great to connect with them. And so those definitely be probably three big examples of just random people that I met that were Clemson fans, Clemson alums that I've become friends with, that have helped me get to a lot of games. So rides with them, or bus, train. If I have to go by myself, I will. So I love Clemson football, and if we were going to play in Hawaii or Alaska, I would try and make it happen. So, I mean, wherever we play, maybe we'll get into, if we change conferences, and some of the pros and cons of that, but traveling to different places, if at all possible, I would try and do anything in my power to go. And just the experience that I can get being in the stadium, even though I can't see it that well, versus sitting at home and watching on TV, which I understand why people do that. But for me personally, the experience that I get being in the stadium, it outweighs watching on TV or listening to it on radio. And so whatever it takes as far as effort or time or money or trying to plan logistically how to get somewhere for a game, it's worth it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's worth it. I wouldn't trade it.
Can you explain why it's so much better? Because when you're at home or listen on the radio, you have somebody telling you exactly what's happening, whereas at the game there's a lot more mystery, I guess you could say. Can you explain what makes it so much better for you?
Well, not always, but a lot of the road games I will be with somebody, and they can tell me some more of the detail that I might miss if I'm at a game by myself. But typically for the home games, especially, I'm on the hill by myself, and I'm able to follow along based on Mr. Dale Gilbert, best PA announcer, in my opinion, and not just because I'm biased because I'm a Clemson fan and supporter, but and former student, but based on all the different stadiums I've been to, he is the best. And so that definitely helps. And like I said, the marching band, I mean, based on the songs they play, I can tell, and the crowd noise, obviously. And it was so weird being at Notre Dame in 2020 with Scott. We were sitting on a bench outside the stadium because we couldn't get in because they only allowed, I believe, roughly 10,000 students to go in the game during the pandemic. And the radio feed's delayed, and so you hear the crowd noise sitting outside the stadium, but you don't really, it's a delay until you find out what's happening. And so it can be like that kind of for me in the stadium too, or at the home games. And so I might not know the details until after the game on some of the big plays or touchdowns or things like that. But there's just the excitement that you get from being in a stadium, and with the crowd noise, the band, and the PA system, I'm able to follow along pretty well. So not all the details, but I know if we scored or cannon fires, that kind of thing. So I would know more details live as it's going on if I was just sitting at home listening to it on radio or TV, but just the experience in the stadium, you can't beat it.
And you don't wear a radio earpiece or anything like that?
No, but I will have my phone so I can follow other scores from around the league, around the country. Just I love college football more than anything. So, but typically no, not listen to it on radio at the stadium.
And the phone tells you the scores through audio, or
yes,
yeah.
So I would say in the past when I could see better for the computer and for the phone, there were different ways to magnify the text, or I had a problem with contrast a lot. So regular print on a computer screen, black on white, or in a book, but there were ways to manipulate it to reverse that, and that really helped me for whatever reason. So I would say, roughly 2011 started having to change to where everything was, because my eyesight was getting to the point where I couldn't see well enough to take advantage of those ways to manipulate a computer screen or a phone screen. So at that point I had to start transitioning to using audio pretty much for everything. And so I'm so thankful that I live in the current times with technology the way it is, because 40, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, the technology is so much better now, and it continues to improve. So both for the phone and the computer, there are assistive technologies. For the computers, use a screen reading program called JAWS. It stands for Jobs Accessible with Speech. And it's not perfect, nothing is, but it allows you to surf the internet, use Microsoft Office products very well. Most websites, they will be accessible. Now, some things with photos or captions, sometimes it can be an issue. Depending on how the website's been built, that can be an issue at times. So, again, nothing perfect, but the technology is so much better. And then also I have an iPhone, and the voiceover on it allows me to text you, allows me to read my email and surf the internet. And so I'm so thankful that the technology allows me to just be able to do a lot of things that we wouldn't have been able to do in the past.
You mentioned you've been around plenty of other PA announcers. What makes a bad PA announcer, and can you just describe sort of some of them that drive you crazy with their inability to sort of keep up with what's going on, keep you up with what's going on?
I don't know that there's something that stands out, but sometimes I don't know that I can really answer that, but it's kind of one of those things you know it when you hear it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think Dell's the best PA. So in some of the indoor stadiums too is really bad, kind of even to hear the sound systems, or there's so much reverberation, like in the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, or especially at the Superdome in New Orleans. And so I don't know. I apologize. I don't know that I could answer that. But,
that's okay.
I think Dell's the best as far as giving a good summary of what's happening on the field.
Back in 2007, when you started this streak, did you say I want to go to every Clemson game for the rest of my life, or did it just happen sort of organically?
No, I mean, I definitely. I mean, I don't know if I could say rest of my life, but just to say, well, I'd only missed one game from 01 to 04 in Miami, and been to a few games in 05 and some in 06, but missed most of 06, and then in 2007 it started going. And
why did you miss most of 06?
I started a job in Goose Creek, mm-hmm. and the call center, and just the way the schedule was set up, didn't really have the opportunity to do that. But was able to get a schedule change, so following year was able to go. And I don't know if I said the rest of my life, but just as long as I can do it, I want to. And I didn't know that would lead to this, but I definitely set out saying, I don't want to miss a game if I can help it. So
you said back when you in 07 when you were first going to, I guess, Maryland, that you and your mom sat down and you had a checklist of things that could go wrong that you had to try to avoid. What were those things that you can recall?
Okay, well, that's a long time ago, so I'll try and do my best. But, there's certain things like, okay, what happens if you miss the train? Mm-hmm. Would be one, for example. Or, and we probably did discuss at some point, as far as like getting lost, but not necessarily with the shuttle. So, some people might say, well, you had some spirit. I wouldn't say brave, and some people would say you're stupid for doing something like that. But, I apologize. I couldn't tell you the whole list, but just, we tried to think of, what if this happens? What if that happens? So.
Even now, what are some things that you're thinking on a long trip? Okay, this can't happen, or if this happens, I'll be in some trouble.
Well, and sometimes some of those things are out of control. I mean, what if the bus is late? What if you miss your connection because it's late? That kind of thing. And I mean, if you're flying, it could be the same way. If you have connection, for example. So. There are certain things that, just like for anyone, if they were making a trip, certain things, I got to take this with me. Especially like backup battery charger for the iPhone. That's definitely one. And take that with me into the home games too as well. So any game, just make sure that I'm not going to lose my phone. So, because, ultimately, if something unforeseen were to happen, to be able to contact people and get in touch with them and try to figure a way to resolve whatever the issue is. That's number one. So that's definitely top of the list. Yeah.
I guess, like at an airport, when you're going from one gate to the other, they'll provide you assistance.
They will.
Yeah.
The airlines are really good about that.
What, out of the how many, what's the number right now?
205, I believe.
205. Rough estimate, like a percentage on how many of those you went to by yourself, and were accompanied by friends?
Well, when I lived in Charlotte, I started taking the train for all the home games. But then my friend Kyle would meet me at the train station and pick me up and spend the day with him. And then at the game, I would be by myself on the hill, typically. So I'm not sure of a percentage. These days, as it seems like, which I'm very thankful for, that the support circle has widened, that end up not having to go by myself as much. So that's something that I am thankful for. But if I were in a situation where I needed to go by myself to get to a game, I would certainly do it.
The support circle has widened. How?
Just as continue to meet people through people, and so just that's not something I can take credit for, or necessarily even something that I've put a conscious effort into. So it's something that's happened organically.
Tell me, I normally don't ask interview subjects about their spouses or companions, but Tara seems like a special person. Y'all have a special relationship, of course. Tell me about her. She works at Clemson here.
She does.
Y'all live in Anderson.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about her. How long have y'all been together?
So it's been 7 years that we've been together, and we met online. So for the folks out there that I'm sure there's lots, and that happens more and more these days. So another in the plus column for technology, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's definitely helped me as far as my football travel as well. If that was, I guess, where you're leading with your question. But no, I'm very thankful for her in my life as definitely someone who's helped me in so many ways. So that's very, very thankful.
I'm going back. I found from 2018, or I guess it would have been 2019. It began on January 6th, a GoFundMe to help Bryson get to the national championship game, which was somewhere near San Francisco.
Somewhere.
And
I hope they never put it out there.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
$1,700 was raised. 31 people. I want to read a few of them. Let's see. M.B. Howell says, "Enjoy your trip, Bryson. Don't be bashful if the Tigers request a little punting help, and go Tigers." And you responded to most of them. Jeffrey Daniels said, "For the biggest Tiger fan I know, have fun, Bryson, and go Tigers. Go Tigers, bring us back the win. Bryson, you're the man. Hope you can make it to Cali." A Clemson friend, Sock Howell. And then I think you responded, "Made it to San Francisco. Thank you all again for all your kind words, donation, and support. I will keep you all updated during my trip. Go Tigers, beat Bama." You went by yourself on that trip?
So I did, but in the Greenville airport, a couple of ladies said, "Well, not only be on the same flight, and they were headed toward the same area, so they said, we're going to take the Caltrain, and they said we'll help you get to kind of where you're going, to where I could get close to where Tara helped me set up an Airbnb for a couple of days out there, and then from Caltrain take a Uber or Lyft, whatever, to get out there. So I was going by myself, and but like I said, so many people helped me, and it's not something I can take credit for. Like I said, I did have the goal. I don't want to miss a game if possible, and as far as your question about the GoFundMe, that's a one-time deal. It was so expensive for the flights, and not something I wanted to do, but it was like desperate times, desperate measures. If I want to get to the game, let's try and enlist the people out there to try and help me get out there, and thankfully that was successful. So Not something I plan on ever doing again, obviously, and not something that I really wanted to do. But like I said, flights were very expensive, and even trying to take a bus out there or a train out there, which I had done previously to the 2 Fiesta Bowls, taking the bus out there, it was going to be difficult. So obviously I'm thankful for all those people. And like I said, Millette, who was a lady who helped me on the flight to try and get closer to my destination, and 44:16. And so obviously it's not something we'll ever forget.
So on that trip, you went from where to where to where, flight-wise?
That was direct from Greenville to San Francisco.
That's right. They came up with
they added some additional
flights
because of demand, I guess.
And you had not found a place to stay at the time that you got to the airport?
Well, for that one, we had pre-planned a place to stay. But, I mean, there have been plenty of times that, especially in the past, where I slept in an airport or slept on the bus or train. So I'm not above doing anything, whatever it takes to try and get there. And so slept in the airport in New Orleans after the most recent Sugar Bowl. We played Ohio State. And I'm not, trust me, I am not above sleeping anywhere. And I'm thankful that I have the ability to do that. I know it would be difficult for some people, but does not bother me in the least.
So you've done a lot of there and backs.
Yes.
Like going day of, coming back in the wee hours of the next day.
If that was the best logistical plan, then yes.
You mentioned things you'll never forget. Obviously, a lot of those things are sounds.
Sure.
What are the most memorable sounds for you at some of these games, some of these huge victories and unforgettable sort of memories for you?
A lot of times it just sounds like a wave of noise, I guess, And, especially love the home games with the band and the full band, and not just the pit band that goes to most of the away games. And then, especially, cannon firing. I mean, we scored. And so I'm not sure. I apologize. I'm not sure that I know how to answer that question. But yes, lots of sounds. Sometimes the hushness over the crowd at an away game is a good sound. People doing the Clemson chants, walking out of the stadiums, going down the ramps in Tallahassee, for example, something like that.
Yeah.
Walking out of like the Peach Bowl win over LSU in 2012. Just everybody excited, and a lot of cadence counts walking down ramps in a lot of stadiums. Tallahassee comes to mind.
A lot of in the last 6 or 7 years, a lot of quietness in the second half in Columbia, I guess. I'm hesitant to say this, given where you went to school there, but a lot of people say we love those 3/4 tickets, and I can't see the taillights leaving Williams-Brice, but I have had a few beers dumped on me. Really?
On occasion, especially my friend Derek Cook, who was in Central Spirit with me at Clemson, could attest to, as we were standing in the upper deck, and I was probably running my mouth a little bit too much during the 63-17 game in 2003. So I deserved it probably, and I wouldn't trade it. So that's definitely near the top of the list of favorite game. Even though it wasn't for a national championship or an ACC title, that's definitely. I don't know if I could rank them favorite game or best game, but the Miami game in 2005, I was thankful to be at. That was one of the few games I made that year, and I was on the Hill with my friend who's also graduated from South Carolina, my best friend from middle school, Bruce, and it was so loud. In the last few minutes of that game, trying to make a stop, we tied up, eventually lost, and triple overtime, I believe. But like the last 2 minutes of that game, like I was screaming at him. He's standing right next to me. Couldn't. It was so loud you couldn't hear anybody. So that's definitely a memory as far as the level of sound. The games at Texas A&M, especially in 2004 when I could see better, and just watching their drum line and their band march into the stadium, and watch their Corps cadets stand on the upper deck and just wave those white towels the whole game. And I love traditions. I love fight songs. Dare tell you, if I'm in a good mood, it's probably annoying to her, but I'm singing a fight song around the house. So, and not just Clemson's, but a lot of the different schools. And so,
which ones?
Oh, well, Texas A&M. They, because they're, as Clemson used to be a long time ago, military tradition. They have the Aggie War Hymn. So that's
can you go ahead and give us one? Give us your rendition.
Sing one?
Yeah.
I'm not sure you want me to do that. I might break your equipment. Tara's the singer. She is a great singer. And,
well, if you do it around the house, you can do it here.
Well, I don't know. Georgia Tech, they have a lot of great songs. So
the Budweiser.
I love the Budweiser song. And so even when they play at Clemson, and I'm sure people are like, why is he singing their song? Well, I love fight songs. I'm going to sing their song.
That's one thing that really does make college football one of the things that just makes it so different is a lot of really cool fight songs that get stuck in your head like a jingle.
Yeah. I love Auburn's fight song. They're Clemson without the lake, so I've always been a fan of theirs because of the ties between the two schools. Dr. Speed is alum of the University of Michigan, and I always rooted for them growing up. I guess because they weren't Ohio State. But just love the colors, and they were on TV every week. And Hail to the Victors. I mean, I think that's a great song. So I know a lot of people would say Notre Dame, Wake Up the Echoes, but there's so many schools that have great songs, and and just even some of the lyrics. I mean, I would sing it, but I'm tempted to sing it, but I don't want to break your equipment, Larry.
My equipment's just fine.
So then it's up with the white and gold, down with the red and black. Georgia Tech is out for a victory. We'll drop our battle axe on Georgia's head when we beat her. Bum, bum, bum. I forget the words sometimes, but
yeah. That's good.
Any song that talks about beating Georgia, I mean, that's got to be a good song, right? So, my mom went to college in Decatur, Agnes Scott, and she went to some games at Georgia Tech. And her dad, I think I got it from him just by osmosis, even though I didn't know him that well, because he loved college football. And when I was a little kid, he and my dad took me to my first game, Georgia Tech against Duke in Durham in 1988. And, I mean, even as a little kid, what do most kids watch? Probably cartoons? I mean, I would watch that too. But, I mean, I was watching college football. And so I don't know where that comes from, but that's the way I've always been wired. It's what I've always loved. And, I grew up with High Noon, Mike Hogwood, Jefferson Pilot, ACC Game of the Week. Jack Corrigan, who's now the announcer for the radio KOA for Colorado Rockies, he was doing play-by-play, and Hogwood on the sidelines. And I wanted to be a college football announcer. I wanted to be next Keith Jackson, whoa, Nelly, or Brent Musburger, you're looking live, and I know how much you probably appreciate that with your journalism background.
Yeah.
So.
If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archambault. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507.
I'm sure some folks listening to this are like about to strangle me right now because I haven't followed up on something you said earlier, and that was you weren't able to get into the Notre Dame game. You weren't able to get in, I think, to the Wake Forest game, I believe, in the 2020 season. Can you describe those trips? I guess those are the only two that you weren't able to get into.
And Virginia Tech.
But
and
you
then
were
Florida
there.
State.
And then Florida State, yeah.
So Wake Forest contacted their athletic department, I guess the ticket folks. And first of all, I'm just thankful that we had a season, for starters.
Yeah.
And then I'm so thankful to the administration at Clemson that made it possible for there to be roughly 19,000 people in the stands.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the schools, the ones that did play, the majority of them did not have any fans.
Yeah.
My uncle is a North Carolina graduate, and state of North Carolina, they didn't allow any fans for games. So he went the whole season, Chapel Hill, not being able to go to a game. And I can't imagine that. I mean, what choice would we have had if that's what had been decided? But so first of all, I mean, the home games we were able to get into, and wasn't on the hill for those because they had the band and cheerleaders there. So sat, I guess, disabled seating. All the event staff, the third-party company they use, they were very kind to me and said, "We'll get your folding chair and you can just sit down behind the kind of behind the hill and off to the side." So still able to hear the band, and Mr. Gilbert was still doing the PA, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the voice of Tiger Band, Mr. Tim Willis. The nice man came up to me after the national title game in San Francisco, and he's just the nicest guy, and helps describe what the band is doing, and just it wouldn't be the same without him, especially the pregame stuff, with the band on the field. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him, and thankful for what he does as well. But so the home games 2020, thankfully we were able to get in for those, and then the road trips, Georgia Tech, it was not an issue getting there, but some of the others we contacted Wake Forest, and they said, we're not going to let anybody in. But Scott, like I said, I rode with him and another friend, Kevin Selman, and we went up to Wake. And, the baseball stadium kind of butts up to their football stadium, and we'd ask some of the security people, and obviously there's hardly anybody there. It's just basically the players and coaches. I think one report had said there was like 50 family members of the Wake players, maybe. So, we asked some of the security people, explained the situation, and we ended up going over, and I apologize if I don't have all the details correctly. I asked Kevin or Scott, they have better details, since obviously, my site is limited. But we ended up kind of climbing over one of the areas to get toward the baseball stadium. And we got to see about the first series of the game. I think Clemson punted, and after receiving the opening kickoff, and then they ran us off. So we listened to the rest of the game on the radio on the way back to the upstate, and then Notre Dame rode with Sky. Like I said, we listened to the game on our phones on the radio feed, and that was weird. Like I said, because you hear cheering going on inside the stadium, then you're like, "What happened?" And so we wait for the like I said, radio feed's delayed a little bit, and then find out what happened. For Florida State, my girlfriend and I were walking out of the hotel room in Tallahassee at like 9 a.m. in the morning to go get the shuttle to get to the stadium. And my dad texted me or called me and said the game was off. And I didn't believe him. I was like, he's just pulling my leg. There's no way. There's no way that this 3 hours before the game that they would cancel it. Sure enough, they did. I was trying to go online on my phone or turn on ESPN in the room and try and find out what happened. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. We drove all the way down here. But that's how it was. And Virginia Tech, this is how wonderful Tara is. She was some concern, which I guess was legitimate, riding buses and trains, trying to be careful as far as, obviously you don't want to catch COVID. So if you go with people, I guess that might be safer. But she said, I will drive you to Blacksburg. And it ended up playing the first week of December. It was cold. And so we ended up walking around. There's obviously hardly anybody there. And it's like a ghost town for Lane Stadium. And obviously they care about football there. In normal times, be slam packed. So ended up talking to this guy, Brad Loftus. Just want to thank him. He's always met him at Wake Forest, and earlier in the year in 2020, and he lives in Greensboro, Clemson grad. He's now been to over 300 consecutive games, so
wow.
In a row. So we met up, we run into him in Wake Forest until they ran everybody off. But he and Tara. We watched the game off the Jumbotron across the state from the stadium outside in Blacksburg. And so Brad would describe to me what was going on in the game based on what he could see off the Jumbotron, and so would Tara. So that's how we watched the Virginia Tech game. And ACC championship game. My friend Madison somehow finagled a way to get me a ticket to get in there. I think they had 5,000 people, and then ended up buying a ticket off a third-party site, ticket broker site for the Sugar Bowl. So 2020 was crazy, and obviously we hope we never go through anything like that ever again. But I look forward to football so much throughout the year and throughout the week, and maybe too much, some people would say, and because it's definitely an obsession of mine. But when you love something, whatever it is, and I'm thankful that we still have football in 2020 because we easily could not have had it.
Mm-hmm. So, as in your mind, as you're traveling you make the decision to travel to Virginia Tech, to Wake Forest, to Notre Dame. You're thinking, I'm going to go, and I'm probably not going to get in, but I'm just going to be there so it can count toward my streak?
That's probably a piece of it, but even if you and I weren't talking about it, it gives me something to look forward to, and it was kind of a routine for football season, and I still had a great time hanging out with my friends in the car, listening to football games on the way back from Wake Forest. And also, we went to Lexington barbecuing. So that's almost required anytime you get near the Triad in Greensboro, right? So,
no doubt.
For those who are familiar with that restaurant, it's. I grew up in Florence, and in Florence, it's more vinegar-based barbecue, and the Eastern North Carolina style. And in Lexington, it's definitely probably it's near the top, I would think, for anybody who's into vinegar barbecue.
Last season was obviously a jolt for everybody around Clemson. Even though they finished with 10 wins, it was still a bit of a shock for everybody to see them struggle in the way they did. Do you think what is your confidence level that they're going to be back where they were as far as near the top of the mountain? Getting back to the playoff, competing for national championships again.
Well, first of all, I think it just shows how spoiled we are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you told me in 1998, after we go 3-8 and make a coaching change, that 20 years later we go 15-0. Well, first of all, I would say, why are we playing 15 games? And I think this is part of the problem with the playoff, and I think it'll get even worse. Just my personal opinion with it is it eventually probably gets expanded. And we could talk realignment if you like. I think it's interesting, but. So much focus on the playoff, and the be-all and end-all is the playoff. And based on where Clemson football is now, I mean, I think it's most years probably a reasonable expectation to try and win the ACC and make the playoff. But last year was a really good year, despite some of the struggles on offense, people probably would say, or, like you said, you win 10 games. You win your bowl game, the worst season, quote-unquote, worst season that you had in almost 10 years, you beat your rival 30-0. Most schools would take that.
Yeah.
But I would imagine a large portion of the fan base is disappointed with that. And sure, I mean, you want to win every game. I mean, that's just competition. But that's still a really good year. And so I think it was just a blip, Had a lot of injuries, not as an excuse, but just fact. Not cohesive on the offensive side of the ball, I think. But, I mean, as far as this upcoming year goes, what would a reasonable expectation be? Probably no more than one loss. I mean, at Notre Dame could be a tough game. NC State, but we get them at home, and we kind of owned them at home, so I can't really foresee a loss in Death Valley. And Wake could be tough because, they're going to score some points, but the defense was really bad last year. So we'll have the best defensive line in the country, I think. I don't think that's much of a going out on much of a limb to say that. Probably the best defense. I mean, obviously Alabama's linebackers are just, amazing. Will Anderson Jr., Dallas Turner. I mean, so they have great linebackers, but I don't think anybody holds a candle to the defensive line we have. So defense is going to be great, and they'll keep us in every game, just like they did last year. And obviously everybody's interested to see, has DJ improved? If not, is Klubnik ready? So, I mean, quarterback obviously is the most important position on the field, but offensive line improved a lot last year, I think. Running backs were young. Improved a lot, I think. So, will the receivers, consistent play for the receivers. Those are kind of the talking points. I listen to a lot of national podcasts and read a lot of articles online, and those are kind of the talking points. So, I don't know what your opinion is if those talking points are fair, how accurate they are. I think most people would say probably pretty accurate, pretty fair. So. Most years you would take last year 10-3. I mean, you win your bowl game, you beat your rival, you're in the running for the conference title. But now that's not good enough for a lot of people, and that's a shame.
What 5 years from now? What conference is Clemson in?
5 years, I don't. It might be a little bit more of a crapshoot to say definitively, but. 10 years, 15 years, I think we would be in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hope. And all the conference realignment talk, the expansion, in some ways it's interesting. I personally, as a fan, I wouldn't be opposed to staying in the ACC if that was possible. I really like what they did with the new schedule arrangement that they released a couple of weeks ago, where we had less trips to Boston and Syracuse, more trips to North Carolina and Virginia. As a fan, that would be better. And what's the point of being in a conference with teams if you only play them once every 6 or 7 years? So I was excited about the new schedule arrangement that they released. And then, less than a week later, USC and UCLA went to the Big Ten. So I don't think Notre Dame will ever join the ACC. I don't think they want to join a conference, period, but if they were forced to, I think they would join the Big Ten. If they got boxed in to where, especially with USC going, and they have traditional rivalries with Michigan State, Purdue. What if Stanford joined? What if the Big Ten told them, hey, we'll bring Stanford, and then you can play Navy out of conference, you still have another couple of games, you can move around the country, have a national schedule, so they can keep that. And, by the way, they'll make an extra, $60, $70, $80 million a year. They might, eventually I think it's going to 2 super conferences. Mm-hmm. And, everybody talks about the money, and then that's legitimate. And that's one of the main reasons this is happening. But that's not as much an issue, apparently, for Notre Dame. But what if they lost access to a playoff that the SEC and Big Ten created? And so for Clemson, it's not only financial, it's we want to be, I think, and I'm only a fan, so what do I know? But, I think we want to be big-time football. And we're not a member of the AAU, the Association of American Universities. So every member of the Big Ten is. Nebraska's not currently, but they were when they joined, and then they got kicked out. And USC and UCLA are. Notre Dame's not, but the Big Ten would make an exception for them. They gave them an invite in 1999. The Irish turned it down. I guess they felt at the time they didn't need to. But what can the ACC realistically do to increase revenue? There's some talk that they might give Clemson a bigger share. How did that work out for trying to appease Texas in the Big 12?
Yep.
And they're going to give Texas a bigger share, or they let them create their own network. So, I don't think it's necessarily what's best for the sport in the long term. Because say you're a fan of Wake Forest, and you're probably going to get left out of Super Leagues down the road. Maybe it's 20 years. What if the players are directly paid by the employees? Directly paid by the universities, their employees. And you have this Super League, expanded playoff, and there's really only 2 conferences. That's kind of the model people are talking about, where it basically be NFL light. Mm-hmm. And do people really want that? It might be in Clemson's best interest financially and to have access to the playoff to go to another league. But, conferences were set up based on regions, and that's obviously going away. So, people have been giving all kinds of examples. The USC baseball team is going to fly across country to play Michigan in the middle of the week. How's that going to work? So, if they could, break away from the NCAA and maybe just do football only, and then keep the leagues together for all the other sports, maybe that would be a good thing. And so, I don't know in 5 years. Maybe we'll still be in the ACC in 5 years. Mm-hmm. Depends on the rumors that you read, what you believe, but. I don't know that long-term is a viable solution based on the amount of money and what happens with the expanded playoff and if we have access to it or not.
You mentioned you went and spoke to the Tiger Marching Band last September on the request of Dr. Mark Speed. What was your message to the band that day?
Well, like I said, just really number one to thank them because since I can't see that well these days, that makes it easier for me to follow along. And like we discussed, there are big differences. There are certain differences between, that I think college football fans enjoy about this sport. Things that the NFL does not have for the large part. And marching bands is definitely one of those things. And it wouldn't be the same without a band, to me. It would, it'd still be college football, but the mascots and the bands and the cheerleaders, that's part of what makes it so great. And I think that's part of the charm of it. And I hope we never lose that. And so just to thank them, because, they obviously don't get the the attention or the credit that they deserve and the amount of time and effort that they put in. So just really to thank them, to make it easier for me personally to follow the game, and just thankful for the part that they play in the event that is a Clemson football game.
Yeah, Mark Speed, I'm reading an article from the Tiger, the student newspaper, and he said he noticed you at some point. I'm trying to find the... Oh, Speed shared with the band that he first met Carter several years ago after, and this article obviously was from last fall, several years ago after noticing his cane, and that Carter never missed a beat along with what the Tiger band was playing in the stands. That's pretty cool. So I guess he came up to you one day.
Yeah, he did.
After a game.
He did.
Bryson, is there anything we haven't covered that you want to share? Anything I'm missing?
Well, along with plugging your upcoming cover band, I wanted to plug a couple of events I'm going to be attending that I hope others would consider attending as well. On July 26th, the Anderson Area Clemson Club is going to have their Solid Orange Clemson kickoff event for the upcoming year. And Wes Goodwin, the co-defense coordinator, he is going to be a guest speaker.
Excellent.
So tickets are $30. They'll have catered dinner and they have a silent auction. All the money that's raised goes to help fund a scholarship for Anderson County student that goes to Clemson. So scholarship for them. So it's a great cause. And looking forward to hearing Wes speak. Last year, Taj Boyd was the guest speaker at that event. So it's great to listen to Taj. So looking forward to Wes. And then also the Anderson Area Touchdown Club. They meet every Friday at noon. The first meeting will be August 26th. At that first meeting, all 8 of the Anderson County High School football coaches, head coaches, will speak. And every Friday at noon. So you can go on Facebook to learn more about both of those events for the Anderson Area Clemson Club and also the Touchdown Club. And I really appreciate to my friends that helped get me involved in those groups. So I hope people will check those events out and try to come and attend.
And you and I met at a Clemson event in Anderson.
We did.
At a... What restaurant was that?
Was it Carson's or Tucker's?
I think it was Tucker's.
Yeah.
I forgot, but yeah, that was when you and I first met. That was back summer of 2018, I want to say.
Yeah, I believe so. And you were signing books.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Any? Are you going to write another one? Any plans?
No, I don't believe so. This podcast is my extracurricular activity, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it more than writing books.
Yeah. And I enjoy listening to it, as you know.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, do a great job with it, and I appreciate you asking me to come on and discuss it. You know, I love talking football, and I look forward to doing it again, maybe in the future. So
yeah, man.
Anytime.
Love your story, love your spirit, and of course, love your company. We'll have to keep in better touch, and we'll see you at the Brooks Center on Wednesday, and
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, Bryson Carter, really appreciate your time and your participation in the podcast. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Larry.
All right, thanks to Bryson Carter, a treasure of a man. Could have sat talking to him for hours more. Appreciate his time, of course. Also appreciate the support of our very loyal sponsors for helping make this happen. And, of course, thanks to all of you for hitting play every week. Everybody have a great weekend. Cheers.